Hey folks, Doug Blake with Body Design University. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about single arm dumbbell rows and a couple of things you ought to be looking for. And I actually have a couple of pictures in here I want to show you just to give you an idea. Have you ever done single arm dumbbell rows, or if you've trained anybody that's done single arm dumbbell rows and you ask them the most important question, or you ask yourself the most important question, which is, do you feel it in your lat? Right. So single arm. So you should feel it in that one lat that you're working. And the question is do you feel it? And that's what I'm always asking a client. Do you feel it right in here or right in here? And I kind of poke them in that area. And of course, I wait for the response. So, oh, yeah, I feel it right in here. Or more often than not, the answer is no, I kind of feel it in here or my bicep. Look, whatever the case is, I just want to show you a couple of things to keep in mind. But first, let's understand that single arm dumbbell rows, we call them lawn mowers, right? Because it's like you're pulling the chain on a lawnmower. Boy, that takes you back a long ways, doesn't it? For those of you don't even know what a lawnmower. Well, number one, you probably don't know what a lawnmower is, and you don't know that you used to have to crank them. Right now, of course, you just turn them on with an engine, but I digress. So single arm dumbbell rows, it's a meat and potato exercise because you can use a significant amount of weight while you're doing this exercise, even with the average client. I'm not saying that's the goal is to use heavier and heavier weight, but just so you get some perspective, the average client that can use 10 pounds for dumbbell curls, maybe 5-10 pounds for lateral raises, they're using easily 30 pounds, sometimes 35, even more in some cases when they're doing single arm dumbbell rows. Of course, they got to be done correctly. But I just want to show you just a couple of, and there's a number of issues that can go along with this. But I pulled up a couple of older photos here, and it's me doing it just to kind of show you these main areas that you need to look at so that you can ensure that folks are doing this exercise correctly. Remember, this works your lats, the middle part of your back, your trapezius, obviously, your rhomboids. But one of the issues we see is that folks will lean forward too much in some cases. Sometimes they don't lean forward enough. In other cases, the positioning of the shoulder, which is what I find normally to be the case, or where the hand is positioned. So let me just go ahead and bring this up and show you what we are talking about. Now, if you take a look, okay, you kind of see what I've got going here. Just one arm on the bench, holding a dumbbell. And I think what I can do is, let me go ahead and give you a little bit of drawing skill on this, okay? So what you'll notice is the position of the shoulder, and that is really one of the main things we have to worry about, which is the shoulder in a protracted, meaning is it down forward, or is it in a retracted position when you're at the end stage of the exercise? The other thing to keep an eye on when people are doing this is how far back is the hand, right? And so the hand should be back as far as the individual can bring it, normally right into the pelvis, right to where the leg and the pelvis meet right in here. That is not a good arrow, ladies and gentlemen, but nevertheless. So you'll notice that there's a couple of things to keep in mind. So a person will basically pull the dumbbell up from this bottom position, but it's not just up, it's up and back. I normally think of it as pulling it up and back, but of course, not so far back that you're pulling it way back past the leg. If that happens, it's generally because the weight is significantly light, and the person can actually almost do a kickback, like a tricep kickback. So the idea is that for the most part, you can see that I'm looking straight down ahead. I'm not overly arched in the cervical vertebrae. You don't want your head tucked down too far. You don't want your chin obviously you don't want your chin tucking into the chest, for instance. Okay. You also don't want to be looking way up and back behind you. So you got the idea that the shoulder, once the elbow moves up and back, right, the shoulder girdle itself goes into a retracted position, meaning you're squeezing your shoulder back behind you. That's going to assist with training the trapezius and rhomboids. And the last thing to keep in mind is right here is the angle of the torso. I'm going to show you in these next two photos. The angle of the torso is such that I'm bent forward enough to where it's not an issue right now with getting tension in my back. So I hope that makes sense. In other words, you don't want to be leaning so far forward like this that you're putting stress on the lower back. So again, one is the shoulder girdle, the other is the dumbbell moves up and back. The head is kind of pointed this way, kind of a neutral straight down position. The torso is, for instance, the torso is at an angle, but not necessarily parallel to the ground. Of course, things like keeping the knee slightly bent, feet positioning, obviously, these will be modified a little bit with the individual. Can't see it really, but the lower back, of course, is arched, right, to maintain the lordotic curve and to sort of keep that rib cage up. Now what I want to do is I want to show you what it looks like with some of the issues that go along with this. So I'm just going to kind of move down here and I'm going to give you another photo. So you'll notice here, well, geez, what are we dealing with now? Well, obviously, the problem that we see is that the positioning of the dumbbell should have been pulled back further. But I see this all the time because the client will literally pull the dumbbell straight up this way. Okay, what is the problem with that? What can you see right off the bat? Well, obviously, there's a lot of trapezius involvement, especially the upper trapezius. And you'll notice that the elbow really has not gotten up and back far enough. Now, I'm not saying I'm not going to feel that in my lats. For sure, I do. But for sure now, I'm also, because of the high level of flexion at the elbow, I'm getting a lot in my biceps. Okay, so I'm feeling out. Like, I'm going to feel it in my bicep no matter what. But this is really forcing my bicep to contract because obviously the dumbbell is in a really poor biomechanical position. Generally, what I have seen when I see clients doing this is the weight is too light. Right off the bat, I can tell you, because there's literally no way you can pull the dumbbell up this way with the weight having any significant resistance. So again, you can see that instead of pulling up this way, I should have pulled up and back this way up into my pelvis. Okay, so that's kind of the idea. I am getting somewhat of a retraction in the shoulder girdle, but really more than anything, I'm actually, instead of just pulling up and back behind me, I'm almost pulling up this way. If you can see that, I'm almost doing somewhat of a shrug. Head position is fine, but again, you can see that, and some of these other issues are fine. But the point is that if we go back up to this picture right here, you can see the significant difference, right? I don't have this elevation, it's retracted, elbow is up and back versus what you can see here. Now let's go to this last photo, and I see this all the time. Now, it's one of two things, to be honest with you, when people are doing this. Honestly, you'll see this one. You'll also see so you can see the torso is it's parallel to the ground. We'll also see people with their torsos way up like this, and then that's a problem as well. But you'll notice that because of this, what's happened? Well, my back is arched, right? My back is arched. When I lose the lordotic curve, now my lower back is subject to potential issues, problems. I might get fatigue in there. And as we know, the goal with any of these exercises, other than abdominal training, is to actually keep the lordotic curve. So you actually want, instead of being curved this way, it needs to be curved the other way, right? We need to have that curve this way, so to speak. And of course, what do you notice? Let me clear those drawings. What do you notice here at the shoulder? Well, when the back is rounded like this, it's very hard to retract the shoulder girdle. Okay, you see that? See, here's the shoulder right here, and that needed to be up and back further. Now I can also rotate the waist to get that position, and obviously what we're dealing with then is, let me go ahead and get rid of these. Let me get rid of these drawings right there and get you back up to the original. So you see this, right? You can see this issue with the shoulder. Even if you look, even my head, you can see I'm just dying over here, right? Look at all the pressure I got on my head because my head's way too low. But up here, you can see the difference. So with my torso kind of up slightly, I'm in a good biomechanical position to retract the shoulder girdle and obviously to extend at the shoulder. This, of course, but right here, even though, yes, I will actually, I will feel this in my lats. That's not in question. I will feel it somewhat in my lats, but the problem is that I'm losing biomechanical advantage with the lack of shoulder girdle retraction. Of course, that's going to be helped and assisted by simply lifting my entire torso up, right? A little bit more, get my head. This way my line of sight looks like this. You can see what I was saying before. Might be a little over exaggeration in the lordotic curve in the cervical spine. But if you kind of understand the biomechanics of this and you try doing this yourself, for sure what's going to end up happening is if you do it, look, if you use enough weight, you'll feel it in your lats. But by having this inability to retract the shoulder girdle, you're not going to effectively shorten the lats the way you want to, number one, and you're not going to effectively shorten the rhomboids and the trapezius, which is what you want to do. So normally what we say with like a single arm dumbbell curl is you're working your lats, but with the arching of the back, the lifting of the rib cage, and the increasing of the lordotic curve in the lumbar spine, you work the erector spinae, and they're in their isometrically contracted position while you extend and flex and extend at the shoulder. But the extension of the shoulder, moving the elbow up and back, but having the hand holding the dumbbell kind of up and behind you slightly is what allows you to retract the shoulder girdle and work all the muscles simultaneously. I mean, it's a unilateral movement. By the way, just so you know, when you're doing unilateral movements, from a programming perspective, definitely recommend that you do them rep driven versus, a double arm movement like bent over rows with a bar. I would probably do that. I would count it, right? I do 30 seconds, 45 seconds. But as soon as I do a single arm unilateral type of movements, I shift over generally into rep count. Why? Because I'm probably weaker or stronger on one side than the other. I don't want to be doing 20 reps here, 12 reps here. I'm going to just exacerbate an already pre-existing muscle imbalance, right? Bilateral muscle imbalance. So I'd much rather do 15 reps, easy 15, and then harder, but at least I get the 15 and generate the necessary tension on both sides. So there you go. Single arm dumbbell curls, meat and potato exercise. Just keep in mind those two little variations that I showed you. When you look at what we call the kinetic chain sort of checkpoints, I'm looking at the shoulder girdle, I'm looking at the head position. In the real world, I don't want people looking down this way or looking way up like that. I want to make sure the head is neutral, arch and lower back. Get the torso over just enough to where you can actually feel the tension on the lats. And always, always, always be safe. Make sure the movements are smooth, slow, controlled. On the negative part, generally, it's going to be slower than on the positive. Exhale on a positive, inhale on the negative. There's so much. Exercising is so cool, isn't it? When you think about all the different variations, there's lots of things you can do, but lots of things can go wrong. Also, that's why we're trying to help you with this. If you have not done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. This way, you know when the new material is coming out. The other thing to keep in mind is that every Wednesday night, at least as I'm recording this video, every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a Quizlet live study session. So you get in on that because it's a lot of fun and a lot of really good material to help you pass your NASM, your ACE, your BDU, any of your tests that you're getting prepped for. And even if you're not, just come on board and have some fun with us to play the game. Facebook group, please go and get in there, access it, post in it. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. If you want more information on the Body Design University actual online or live course, please click on the link below. Goal here is to help you to become a certified personal trainer. If you are already a certified personal trainer, you're in luck, because we also want to help you to become an industry leading personal trainer if you've already got your certification. So as always, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.